Now, you may have noticed this campaign season, there's a lot of talk about taxes. And for good reason, too. As pointed out by so many people, there are so many loopholes and deductions and, special privileges for one group or another that they are almost impossible to calculate. Michelle Bachmann, Rick Perry, Herman Cain, they've all come out with plans to modify or even just overhaul our current system. And they're all well-founded, at least in their basic idea, because our current system is literally So, like I said before, there's been a lot of talk about taxes during this presidential debate. We could say that it really started back last year when President Obama extended the Bush tax cuts. Now, originally, when this was fought over, some people say it ended as the Bush tax cuts stabilized the economy and increased revenue. Now, whether or not that is true is a subject of great debate. Progressives, on the other hand, say it yanked all the safety from the middle class. Anyway, the point is that this rekindled the long hatred between conservatives and progressives on this issue. And it's carried over. President Obama's economic recovery plan is based in large part on the Buffett tax, which is based on that notion where the world's ending! Warren Buffett's secretary is paying a higher tax rate than Warren Buffett! And 3 Republican presidential candidates have made a lot of noise about taxes. They're trying to pimp up their platforms with all sorts of cool new tax plans that'll save our economy. Herman Cain's whole candidacy is pretty much based on his 999 plan. Michelle Bachmann, who used to be a tax lawyer, says this system is so broken we have to scrap it. Rick Perry's just come out with his new plan today, and with Rick Perry's plan being released, we actually get a very deep glimpse into what the left truly believes about taxes and wealth. But there's a very important difference between people who are bashing Rick Perry's plan and people who are bashing Cain's 999 plan. Many sources, including PolitiFact, which is generally seen as a pretty neutral and reliable source, have said that Cain's plan would raise taxes for poor and middle-class families while giving a large tax break to the rich. And let's assume for the sake of argument that that's true. I would have a problem supporting that plan, and I think that's a tripping point for many people who would support Cain. But Rick Perry's modified flat tax system, which is something I think is a great idea, is that if you're better under the current system, stay under the current system. But you can go to a flat tax, 20% flat tax, that's simple, no deductions, no loopholes, essentially, and just choose which other system is better. If you want to stay in the madness of the current system, completely fine. If you want to go to the flat tax, completely fine. And I like that because even though many people I look up to support the flat tax, a 20% flat tax or whatever, I have a problem with thinking that the government would come in and take 20% from a minimum wage worker's salary. They may already do that in income tax and Social Security, but that's a different issue. Think about this. If you look at the income tax brackets in America, if you make more than $34,000 a year, you're going to be paying at least 25% in income tax without any deductions or loopholes. Now, if under the income tax you pay less than 20% and you make more than $34,000 a year, you can stay with that. That's fine. You're better off. But if you pay more than 20%, which is what it would be without loopholes or deductions, you are getting a tax break if you make more than $34,000 a year. And that's conveniently never pointed out by any of the left-wing people who denounce this plan. But because this plan would either beneficially affect you or not affect you at all, it shows us something to see that the way the left continually bashes this as tax cuts for the rich. They see taxes as a kind of just punishment. They see themselves as a righteous judge bringing down the hammer of justice upon those greedy rich people who have gotten too much money. The left pretty much views the economy as some strange machine that just hands out money at random. Inputs don't affect outputs. The productivity of your work doesn't affect how much you get, how hard you work. Rich people are pretty much just people who got lucky and got handed more money. And so liberals and progressives bring down the good gavel of government to take some of that money and give it to the poor people, because it's immoral for poverty, even if it's self-inflicted, to exist amongst great wealth. Inequality within itself is evil, despite if there is justice or not. One might be tempted to say that the left wants this money for social programs, but they're not proposing any new programs right now, and a lot of this money that they would lose because of these tax cuts would go into things like defense, which they disagree with. It seems almost like the left just would rather have it in the hands of the government for any reason than to have it at all in the hands of the rich. Even though the Huffington Post even admits that the top 20% of earners are disproportionate amount of spenders in this economy. And with the release of Rick Perry's plan, which is a plan that we could say has malice towards none, it shows that at the base of most of its policies is the belief by the left that wealth is evil and causes inequality and must at all costs be confiscated. Anyway, I'm going to be coming out with my capitalist homeschooler, communist public school video soon. Stay tuned for that. Free markets rock, government intervention knocks into prices and barriers, making the situation hairier.
Peace, free markets, and Switzerland is awesome.